Guys, this is a fun amp. I don't know who's a guitar player, but I love this thing. Hey everyone, Dre DiMura here. Today I'm hanging out with my friends from Guitarcenter, checking out the Positive Grid Reactor. I've been a long-time user of the Positive Grid Spark and Bias platforms, and I'm really excited about the Reactor. This is a real 112 gigable guitar combo amp with some really incredible and innovative features that are going to blow you away. The tone is crazy responsive, very tube-like and dynamic, and it moves a ton of air with a bunch of tight low-end power on stage, in the practice space, or even at home. So that tone you heard me shredding on during the intro took me about 15 seconds to dial in with the Reactor app, powered by Amp Intelligence. Before we dive into what that means, let's take a look at the hardware. Reactor comes in two varieties, a 50-watt and 100-watt model, with a proprietary 12-inch guitar speaker fine-tuned for each cabinet. The speaker feels incredible and responds just like a tube amp. The lows are super powerful with a balanced range and a nice sizzle on top. You can really feel the power of this thing in the room. So let's build like a crunchy, saturated rhythm tone. The amp selection knob on the left lets me audition different amp types without affecting anything else in the signal chain like pedals or EQ settings. This is great when you want to audition different amps to see what your tone might sound like with something else and not lose your progress or mess up the rest of the sound. It's like a Silverface style thing. Warm. Grit. Crunch. And extreme. So my favorite thing about the controls is the heat switch, which you won't find on any other amplifier. Reactor isn't a preset library and it doesn't use amp models or IRs. It constructs tone in an entirely new way. Trained on hundreds of real-world amps and circuits, it builds sounds from the ground up at the component level. Things like tube types, circuitry, and bias points, meaning we can simulate modified amps using Amp Intelligence, which is what these mini toggle switches do. Heat allows us to kind of control the amount of gain stages that are in the circuit, closing that last 10% gap in the sound. You're happy with the tone, you don't want to make any other adjustments or change your gain staging or pedal settings, but it just needs a little something. So here's the middle setting. If I go all the way down, back to where we started. Now let's push it a little bit. Imagine adding a gain stage to a British style amp. And how about one more? Because more is more. So all the way back down to 1. And up to 5. I'm a big fan of vintage modded amps, and being able to simulate those with Reactor is awesome. Adding or removing gain stages to kind of emulate those classic British style amps and high gain leads that we hear in the 80s and 90s on records, without having to spend thousands of dollars or take it into the shop. The push smooth knob lets you control kind of where the midpoint is in the tone, either tucking it, pushing it back in the mix to sit beneath like a vocal or a lead line, or pushing it forward when you need to be heard. I tend to use the middle or smooth setting on my rhythm patches and push it on leads. Here's the middle setting. Here's smooth. Hear how we get less high mids? That helps you not to compete with a vocal. And push. You can really hear that upper mid-range bump, pushing the guitar forward in the mix in the context of the band or on the gig. So I'm gonna go with crunch. And I'm gonna use the smooth setting to adjust the midpoint and dial in some extra heat with Amp Intelligence. As you can clearly see and hear, Reactor makes it super easy to dial in incredible, dynamic, responsive guitar sounds that can fill the room with the controls on the top panel. From auditioning different amp types to adjusting effects on board and writing them to one of the 8 hardware presets, the sound you hear in your head is within reach. Plus, the Amp Intelligence switches make it really fun to fine-tune and tweak your final sound. But diving into the app is where things really start to get interesting. Remember that high gain tone from the intro? Here's how I dialed it in. Reactor's Creator Hub allows you to dial in guitar sounds in an entirely new way, using text, image, and even sound inputs. Image to Tone even allows you to take a picture of a guitar rig and have Reactor rebuild the signal chain from scratch. Let's start with text to tone. So if I click Describe It, I can either type or talk to Reactor. Give me an 80s Eddie Van Halen style brown sound built for shredding, super saturated with some reverb and delay. After a few seconds, Reactor will provide 2 to 5 options for you to audition. And let's hear option number 2. Okay. See, that's really capturing that like later 80s 5150 sound. Ooh, that's nice. That feedback is incredible. It sounds amazing in the room. It feels so good. It's so good to play loud. There's not a single tube in this. That's crazy. Listen to the sag on that. So the coolest thing here is that Reactor didn't just put a 5150 model or a Brit style model on this signal chain, it rebuilt this circuit. So each time you're getting a unique sound, something bespoke, custom for you. I'm super happy with just that sound, didn't have to touch it at all. But if you did want to make adjustments, there's a few options. Option 1 is to reprompt Reactor with the changes that you'd like. It's perfect. I love the second one best. Can you add a flanger for that Ain't Talking About Love signature sound? Let's hear it. Option 2 is to go over to the tone page to make adjustments manually. The hardware controls are also connected to the app, so any changes you make on the top panel you'll see reflected on screen. The tone page allows you to edit tones manually, selecting from 24 different amp characters as well as 8 simultaneous effects, which can be dragged anywhere in the signal chain. Swipe up to turn effects off. Swipe down to turn them back on. Double tap to change the effect. Hold and drag to reorder. We haven't checked out the I/O yet, but Reactor does have an effects loop, which you can drag and drop anywhere in the signal chain in the app, turning Reactor into a pedal platform. And you can combine both your pedals and the effects in Reactor to create any sound you want. Now let's try out image to tone. You can point your phone's camera at anything or upload an image from your camera roll, and Reactor will use it to build you an entire signal chain. And it can be a literal guitar rig or something totally abstract, even like a photo of yourself. This image has a tweed style amp with a humbucking guitar, chorus pedal, some drive, reverb, and delay. Let's see what Reactor can do. So it's identified all of the gear in the photo. And again, it'll prepare several options for us to audition. So we have the drive from the drive pedal. We have the tape delay and the reverb. And the chorus. Using Reactor Control, I'm going to turn off the modulation. Reactor's optional foot switch, Reactor Control, can connect with a wired connection or wirelessly with Bluetooth, and has two modes, to change presets or to turn on and off individual effects. It also has an expression pedal in for controlling things like volume swells and wah. Let's use Reactor Control to dry up this tone, removing the modulation and reverb. And I can use it to switch presets. So this time I've prompted Reactor to give me a warm Edge-of-Breakup Nashville rhythm tone with a slapback delay and some twang. Reactor offers a ton of creative options for dialing in your sound, and bringing that sound that you're hearing in your head to life coming out of the speaker of your amp. I love to use these features to give me a good starting point or to take me in a different creative direction, maybe inspiring me to play something using a sound that I wouldn't have just dialed in on my own. I think it's easy for us as guitarists to kind of get maybe stuck a little bit in our ways, so having this new option to prompt with images, with descriptions, things that are maybe a little abstract, is a great way to break out of a creative rut or even defeat writer's block. Now that we've seen and heard Reactor and Amp Intelligence in action, let's talk a little bit about the comprehensive I/O on the back panel. Starting on the right side, we have power control. This lets us run Reactor at full power, 25 watts, or 1 watt for bedroom practice. And it's an extremely linear progression. This isn't just an attenuator, it preserves your tone while lowering the overall level for any space, keeping it remarkably clear and original to the sound that you dialed in. The USB-C out allows for 4824 recording capabilities using Reactor as an interface. Plug this directly into your computer and record with your DAW. Next, we have the effects loop, which turns Reactor into a pedal platform. The best part is you can move that effects loop anywhere in the signal chain using the app, and even combine your pedals with the built-in effects in Reactor. Next is the headphone out, which defeats the speaker and puts a cab sim IR on your signal chain so that you can listen in headphones, creating opportunities for silent practice and monitoring, which obviously Positive Grid is already known for with the Spark Neo headphones. The line out gives you the option to defeat or keep the speaker to use Reactor as a monitor on stage and still push some air, or silence it entirely and go straight to front of house. Again, this puts a cab sim IR on your signal chain so that you can go into the PA system. Reactor also has a power amp in, which allows you to connect any other line level output from something like, say, a modeler to use Reactor as a speaker cabinet and get the combo amp experience on stage with other gear. Finally, we have the hardwired 1/4-inch input for Reactor control, as well as MIDI in to integrate Reactor into more complex setups. I've been lucky enough to beta test Reactor 50 and 100 and have been playing with these amps for a few months, and it's becoming an everyday part of my guitar playing routine, whether I'm practicing, jamming with friends, or performing. It gives me everything I need to find my sound in a compact package that I can take anywhere. And most importantly, it's just been really fun to play, and it's making me play more. It's been inspiring me to plug in more, turn up, play loud, jam along to songs, play with friends, jam with other guitar players, you name it. Yeah, I was really blown away by the brown sound today that we dialed in with Describe It. I think that's something that guitar players have been obviously chasing for decades, getting that perfect brown sound, and it just dialed it in like perfectly in 30 seconds. And I immediately felt like super connected to the guitar and the amp. That's obviously like awesome to be able to dial in a super inspiring sound that feels really good and sounds really good. I think one of the things that blows me away about Reactor is the fact that you really get the best of both worlds. We've kind of become really accustomed to hearing our guitar back through like FRFR speakers or studio monitors, right? That tends to feel really playable, but it doesn't quite respond in the way that a real amp might. And having something that feels really good, it's easy to play, but it's also moving a ton of air in the room, giving you that full spectrum of sound with the 12-inch speaker is, I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's honestly making me fall in love with playing with an amp again. I also can't believe the price. It's unbelievable. If you want to learn more about the Positive Grid Reactor, you can head over to guitarcenter.com, contact one of their expert gear advisors, or head into your local GC and play one for yourself.